3. I'm actually starting to enjoy this. I think it's going to be important as this thing increases in complexity to have introductory videos, and also once we build out a whole coding team, task force, how it all operates. So I just go through the main features of everything. Obviously, through here we have events. Each individual document, a close of navigation. We have a collection, again, with basic, I picked some image that I found. And I should turn that off. So we have an image, we have a container, we have a collection of cards. I'm going to close that. I have a card container that are pulled from all the events in general. The cards have a title, description, meta information. We could say something like the author ID is, which there's no author apparently. We could say where it's located, and it'll just have a meta piece there. When you click on this, we have a breadcrumbs widget, which is pretty standard. We have a title widget, which could be, again, everything has an options for visibility. We could add custom CSS, which you could just add a basic class to this widget, and then that'll reference, when you go into the parents, the custom CSS, and that could be the class thing that we just made. And then you would add in CSS where it's like whatever, zoom or something, 200%. And then we can close that out. So we could preview the CSS through here, and then what I said, clashing, we say zoom. And then I can go into here with, I think this will work, zoom, title, zoom. Yeah, it's zoomed at 200%. So that's how that works. I don't really like CSS edits, but it's nice as like a paint job at the end. So the emphasis for this, every widget has its own settings. We have an emphasis, so maybe the event, we could throw in where it is location. It's not really helpful. I like the backgrounds, but they get kind of gnarly when you have a lot of information, so it might be better not to have the backgrounds, but for now, and the subtitle might be when start date, something down there. The actions, the title has an action. We could also change the header, the title type, so there's an image. You can make that compact or default. You can make it a cover image and have something up here with the header image. Same thing with the profile. There's a background, that's more like a user profile thing, or keep it simple for now. Down here is a fields, and that's just an easy table view of all the data we have, so you just create a label. And even the label can be dynamic, which is really interesting. Then clearly the value, you just kind of scroll down and go through the fields. Going into the events, we have obviously the name, which is a basic text. We have a body, which is of type rich text, which I don't really know what the difference is, because you can store or view things in rich text or not. And then there's a notes widget, which allows you to edit in HTML. We get a timestamp, which is going to be created automatically with a date time field type and settings for like without the seconds, but the date format, and it's date or time only. We have images, which is a direct image, what I call it. It's of type image, and this is the auto image type, again with the pixels for the image. Auto, and here's a final image, if then else. If the image is direct exists, meaning you uploaded an image directly for what the event is, otherwise use the auto thing. When, so when/start, again the when is just a folder, so that forward slash does, creates you a folder, which is just easier for organization. What is it of type, date, time. Again, that's pretty clear. And then the widget naturally is a like date time kind of picker. Here is a type relative time. So there's a ton of computed columns. One of them is relative time. Pick that, and you can create a custom now, and you can change the style. I don't know. It's something like in 3 weeks, but I think if you say like mini, yeah, it does just like 19 days or 5 hours, which is feature. So I want to be able to filter going back into the layout. I'm going to say, when I go into the events, here's a filter. So we go back into the cards collection, and in the options, this is for where the sourcing, what type of collection it is. We go into the options, visibility. We can filter the data. We can sort it. That would probably be better if we sorted it by start time and then maybe descending. So that makes it more in the future. Cool. We can show the search bar. Pretty easy. This only operates with the values that are shown here, so it's kind of useful to actually show like the location, because if I wanted to search Longmont, that'll pop up just because those are there. So it doesn't show it searched by the actual data, which is interesting. That's why I've created my own custom search thing. But there's a search thing, and then there's an in-app filter which pops this up, and we can just tell it what categories there is. In this case, I chose one of them, which is when is the future. So now going back into the future, we'll say when is future. So we have an if then else type column. And then I clicked when the start, and because I clicked on a date time column, we have the options for, generally we have is or is not, or is empty or is not empty, which is basic data stuff. But within or before or on or after is for the date time, and we can say today. And I think if you do like is after, yeah, today or now, which is cool, but then it gets dicey because then it's like if the event has already started but you still might want to show up because you're 5 minutes late, you at least want to see like things going on now. So now and is after now is kind of a relative thing, but I'll just say is on or after today. It's kind of a mind exercise, like is after today is future. So if I say true or false, then it'll create this if then else. It's responding with a Boolean value or a truthy value, and then it creates an actual, it's really smart, it creates a Boolean type, which allows easier filtering, because that's way better than truthy values. Date time, when stop, clearly the same thing. We should probably have like a filter to say like it has to be later than the start time, but that would be more of a conditional of like creating like an if then else column to say is it valid or something like that. Is the stop time after the start, whatever. The duration is a math column, again, because we are creating an algebra equation with the variables of start and stop, and because these are start and stop, it's going to actually return with a duration. So it's smart to say is the math regarding date time, therefore return in a time format, and so it's returning the duration, which is generically useful. And particularly if you attended an event, we might want to incentivize, well, you attended an hour-long event, that's worth 10 points per hour. Or maybe it's a work session that you checked into. Like I don't know. I attended a volunteer session that lasted 6 hours. Well, that should maybe 10 points per hour or something. Back to here, we have a calendar component. Same thing. We could have a card, a list. Kanban is for like text or task management. We could have a table and manage the fields there, but we have a calendar. The title of the thing is the main name. Again, we're pulling from the values from the event itself and the start and stop. And we could say, well, it shows in a week, and there's that. So with the options, or the actions rather, allow users to add items or edit items. Because we have maybe a primary add button to the events, We don't want to create a separate add button interface for just the calendar. So we have, if we click on that directly, we have an edit screen, and we don't want to have that by default. So we're going to disable that. And now when you click on it, it just shows the details inside.